In today's video, I will be demonstrating how to disassemble the Texas Power Bar, how to clean it, oil it, and then put it all back together. In addition, I'll be giving a soft review on this bar since I've owned it since 2011. This power bar was the first bar that I bought for my home gym back in 2011. I bought it from Elite FTS, and it was listed there as the Troy Texas Power Bar. This bar was designed by Buddy Capps and initially manufactured by a company called Mac. Eventually, Buddy Capps started manufacturing this bar himself, and Troy was a distributor. I was actually really happy to learn this when digging into the history, that the Troy bars were still manufactured by Buddy Capps. It really gives me some peace of mind when it comes to the quality of the bar. Nice little side note here, even though we printed 20 to 30% of the money supply, you can still buy a barbell nowadays for around 300 bucks. And I spent $325 on this barbell back in 2011. But that doesn't bother me one bit because this barbell has been a fantastic performer for me. I use it weekly for my deads, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the review portion of this video. One way to easily identify a Texas Power Bar is going to be the collars. Not only are they affixed with roll pins, but they also generally have a thicker collar to prevent your plates from hitting the side of your power rack. Many modern barbells have moved on to the snap ring design, so whenever I see these roll pins, it makes me feel nostalgic. Over the years, I have thrashed this barbell. I've never been gentle with it. I have dropped it with steel plates. Some of those plates are not the best plates, so they weren't even, and you see many chips and dings in this bar, but it still performs very well. The only other time that I ever took it apart was when I was removing the initial coating on the bar. This bar came with a black oxide coating that I always found was prone to rust, and it just didn't look good over time. It would wear unevenly depending on where I put my hands on the bar and where it rubbed against my shins in the deadlift. So I initially took this bar apart so I can wire wheel off all the coating and bring it down to bare steel. While bare steel isn't the easiest thing to maintain, it definitely feels fantastic. If you're doing your maintenance right and lightly oiling it from time to time, it will develop a slight patina that is not rust, but is also not shiny bare steel. And that patina just looks cool and maybe slightly protects it from the elements, but oiling it will still be necessary if you bring it down to bare steel. What it amounts to is every few years, I take this bar apart, hit it with the wire wheel in spots that may have accumulated a little bit of rust, and then oil it and put it back together. Like I said, later in the video, I plan on going over the performance and dimensions of this bar and comparing it to my Rep Power Bar and my Pendley bar. But before we do that, let's get this guy disassembled and cleaned up.
The first thing you're going to need is a 3/16 of an inch roll pin punch. These kits are fairly cheap on Amazon, and I'll link to the one I used in the description below. Once you have your punch, clamp the bar down and drive the roll pins out of the ends of the bar. With the roll pins removed, you can lightly tap on the sleeves with a soft blow hammer to get it off of the bar. Here is a zoomed in shot of the end of the barbell, which shows where the roll pins reside and hold the sleeves onto the bar. Before reinstalling these sleeves later, I like to oil up the interior and wipe them down with some paper towels. I pay special attention to the brass bushings, which is the component of the sleeve that actually contacts the bar.
I'm going to go through some observations I have on this bar after a decade and a half of use. First of all, y'all may notice this line going along the entire length of the bar. That gouge has been there since I bought it. In today's world, I would hope something like this would get kicked back on quality control. But back then, I guess maybe it just wasn't that big of a deal. It hasn't really affected the performance of this bar so much that I can tell, but it is there. So I have this big gouge going through the entire length of the bar. If you look at where the bushings actually land on the bar, you can see some wear. So if I measure just the bar itself in a non-wear zone, I'm getting 1 inch and 125 thousandths. And if I go to the bushing area, I'm getting barely any variance from that, maybe 1/1000th of an inch or two. So very minimum wear where the bushings sit on the inside. And then I have some wear patterns out here on the outside. I'll do the same thing. And I'm seeing about 1 inch and 118 thousandths, 1 inch and 125. So I am seeing some more wear on the end of the bar than on the middle. That's really nothing to be concerned about. You know, we're talking thousandths of an inch of wear over a decade and a half. I think that's pretty darn good.
At this point, I use a 4.5 inch angle grinder and a wire wheel to remove any rust, chalk, or grime. If this is routine cleaning, it won't take you too long to do this, but if this bar is fully rusted, hunker down for some grind time. Also make sure to wear a respirator to protect your lungs. When reassembling, I clean and oil with Ballistol, but WD-40 would also get the job done. You don't need to soak these components with oil, just leave a nice oily residue on the mating surfaces. If you do soak it, you'll get oil dripping out all over your gym for a few months. The last step is to carefully drive the roll pins back in with your roll pin punch and hammer. Take your time here and match the pin stick out on both sides of the sleeve for each pin.
All right, so I have 3 bars laid out here. I have the Texas Power Bar we've been working on, the Rep Power Bar that is in stainless steel, and then finally a 2013 Pendlay Olympic weightlifting bar. I think there's enough contrast in these bars' ability to kind of talk about the pros and the cons of the Texas Power Bar. The Texas Power Bar is known for being a 28.5 millimeter bar originally. They do make a 29 millimeter bar now. The Rep Power Bar comes in at 29 millimeters, and then the Pendlay bar is 28 millimeters on the dot. Correct me on this one if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure all IPF bars are 29 millimeters, the thicker 29 millimeters. They may have a range there. The 28.5s may be usable, but I think most of the time they use a 29. The advantage of the 29 is that there's less flex. So in things like a bench press or maybe a squat, you would prefer a more rigid 29 millimeter bar. And in things like the deadlift, you may appreciate a little bit of whip. I kind of like using this 29.5 millimeter bar for my deadlifts. It just feels better for me. I've never used a deadlift bar, but I imagine that just that ever so slight increase in whip is nice to have versus this more stiff 29 millimeter Rep Power Bar. That being said, I do love using this 29 millimeter rigid Rep Power Bar for my bench and my squat. Another reason why I like using the Texas Power Bar for my deads is that the knurling is aggressive, but not overly aggressive for higher rep deads. So if I'm trying to get reps of 6 to 8 on the deadlift, this Rep Power Bar is so aggressive that it will tear me up over time. And that's after, decades of lifting. I do blacksmithing work, and even with all that in mind, this one will still tear up my hands if I'm doing really high reps. It's just not as comfortable either, especially if you're utilizing something like a hook grip. On the other hand, the Texas Power Bar has just enough knurl to keep your hand on there, especially after cleaning it up with the angle grinder. And I do find using a hook grip on this Texas Power Bar feels better than on the Rep Bar, probably because of 2 things. First of all is the knurl, but also the slightly smaller diameter just lets you get your hand all around it a little bit better. So for deadlifts, I really like using this Texas Power Bar. That's not to say you can't use it in the rack, and there are some advantages on using a Texas Power Bar in the rack. One of those is the width of the collars. The Texas Power Bar comes in at 49.6 millimeters. The Rep Power Bar comes in at 34.9 millimeters. And then the Pendlay bar comes in at 42.1 millimeters. The advantage of having this additional width on the collar of your sleeve means that your plates are further away from your power rack. So when you're walking out a squat, you have a smaller chance of impacting the sides of your squat rack. So that is a nice feature in the Texas Power Bar for the squats. But that being said, I still squat with the Rep Power Bar, and I've never had any issues hitting the uprights of my rack. Now, some racks have a slightly wider or slightly narrower stance on their uprights, so it could factor in on some wider racks. I know this Titan Power Rack is a little narrower than the Rogue rack, so maybe if you have a Rogue rack with a wider set of uprights, you may want to have this thicker collar on a bar that you're squatting with frequently. As far as build quality goes, these are all barbells that have been used a lot. The play on the sleeves are identical. I can't tell a difference. Even with all those years of abuse, this thing stacks up just fine on the side-to-side play. As far as the spin goes, a brass bushinged barbell isn't really designed to have a huge amount of spin. These are not bearing bars. I would say it's fine for what it is. It has a nice center knurl that is not passive. It's the same knurl as the rest of the bar, just like the Rep Power Bar. The Rep Power Bar center knurl is a little bit wider, but I've never seen that as being an issue when squatting with the Texas Power Bar. One thing I would rather have on my Texas Power Bar is a stainless steel finish like I have on this Rep Power Bar. I just really like the bar staying pretty all the time, I guess, and not having to worry about corrosion or any type of coatings flaking off like this zinc or whatever is just a really nice option. Now, as far as feel goes, I think getting it to the bare steel is as good of a feel as you're ever going to get out of the knurl on these Texas power bars. If you coated this bar, it would fill in those valleys just ever so slightly, and you'd have a slightly less aggressive knurl on the bar. So bringing it down to bare steel, I think, has given it the best feel that it can have. One last note on these sleeves is that it has a ribbed sleeve. You can feel it with your fingernail going all the way through. And then the pendulum bar also has that. The rep bar is a smooth sleeve. I don't know exactly why they do that. I think it could be to provide just a little bit of friction, keeping plates on the bar without a collar potentially. It definitely is slightly louder. It could also be an artifact of the machining process, just saying that it's faster to do a sleeve like this with some ridges opposed to getting this nice smooth finish on the rep bar. I have had some significant damage on the sleeves of the Texas Power Bar. It has not affected the use of the bar. Obviously, it hasn't fallen apart on me. You gotta take into account that I've used this bar almost exclusively with steel plates, and the first set of plates that I got were not the best quality, and they probably had some very hard angles where the plate contacts the bar. They probably didn't have nice chamfers or bevels because they were just cheap cast plates. One nice little feature here is that the chamfer on the front of the sleeve here is just more aggressive than that of the rep or the pendulum bar. I do find that it helps get the plates onto the bar just ever so slightly easier. It's definitely not a deal breaker, but just keep that in mind. So I hope this gave y'all some insights to the features of the 28.5mm Texas Power Bar and some anecdotes on how long it will last you, which is a very long time. If y'all enjoyed this video, hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time, train hard.